How do you think about storytelling when it comes to finance? Because I have the feeling that it's back in fashion. Like everyone is talking about it as one of the most important skills to pick up in today's environment. So going beyond just the numbers and the technical part, but really learning how to tell a story that connects with an audience. What's your take on that?
So again, maybe I'm biased because this is my resting pulse. I think it matters a lot. And if you look, and you very kindly gave a shout out, but if you look at my newsletter or look at my podcast recordings, or if you hear me speak on a podcast like this or anywhere publicly, you'd be hard pressed to find a lot of industry jargon. Hard pressed to find a lot of reference to Greek letters. And I think we could talk about concepts like risk in very plain language. Talk about why the liability side of the balance sheet matters more than the assets in very plain language. And I think this has a benefit to helping the end investor understand some of the risks and opportunities. So storytelling, as long as it's not an outright fable, I think is a very, very important part of the narrative because it pulls the investor into an industry that is so very opaque. If you and I need to have a repair to our car, or the dentist tells us we have a filling that's broken, we trust them. And hopefully we've done our work, but I guess we can go get a second opinion, but we're not going to go back home and get under the car ourselves or try to get that tooth into the camera to see if the filling really is broken. But the downside risk of something like that is relatively small versus leaving it to trust and fate. If you're turning your assets over to an individual, the damage that they could do in 5 months or 5 years might be irreparable over the course of the rest of your investing lifetime. So these are not small issues. They're not uncomplicated issues. And the more we can distill this narrative down to words the investor can use and understand, we've done something right by them.
Music to my ears, Bill. That's music to my ears. One last question I like to wrap up my show with. A piece of advice, maybe for our listeners in their, let's say, 20s, maybe early 30s, in order to have a successful career, maybe make it 4 decades as you did. What would you tell them?
Well, I think that maybe it has a lot of underlying narratives, but stay curious. And stay curious means stay informed. It means ask questions. It means being a good listener, taking that information in and asking the right follow-up question. But being a student of the markets, a student of what you do is so, so very important. And I love this industry. I said I've been in it for many, many decades. And one of the reasons why I love it so much is every single day I learn something new. And I can learn it from a discussion with somebody like you. I can learn it by reading the FT. I can learn it by reading The Economist. And a lot of publications have their own political bent, sadly, in reality today. So you should take in and consume as much information so you can form your own opinions, form your own biases, and hopefully those biases are based in fact. But maybe just one other thing I'll add to this, and you alluded to it before, and it's a very, very important point. Long-termism matters. We have elected officials that might be there for 2, 4, or 6 years. So they're trying to maximize that role for what fits their best interest. They're trying to get reelected, so they're going to promise things, and it might be crazy in the long term, but that gets them elected in the shorter term. Same thing with CEOs. Their tenure on an average basis is relatively short. They want to monetize what that means for a W-2, their take-home pay in the U.S. I'm not saying they're all wired that way, but we have an industry that's focused on short-term reward when building a portfolio. Building wealth is a long-term pursuit. If we could teach nothing to the end investor or to the individual starting out in this industry, long-termism matters. If you're trying to get that ideal job at Goldman Sachs or KKR or Carlyle coming out of school, if it's there for the taking and it's very competitive, go and get it. But don't kill yourself if you can't. Get yourself involved in the very best career start that you can, hopefully a global organization with good training, build your network, believe in yourself, and be the CMO of you, because you're the only one that's going to care enough about it. You can't fire yourself as CMO. You should maximize the potential and recognize life and career have setbacks. In the long term, if you're focused on it, you're going to do just fine.
You've reached the end of this clip, but the story is not over. To watch the full episode, follow this link. Go on. You can do it.